Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for James. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. I do have a Patreon and a Cash App. I'll get to those as soon as I can. Your requests, feel free. PayPal is usually the best bet. It'll be pretty much any type of video, topic, reaction, commentary, review, re-review, whatever the case may be, and again, I'll try to get to as soon as possible. But this time it's talking about the 1998 film A Night at the Roxbury, based on the SNL skit, which I do remember the skit. It was fine for a skit. I did not know I I did not know that you needed a whole movie dealing with those characters. But this is a film that's definitely gained a bit of a cult following, because I remember at one point it was like a 4 point something on IMDb, now it's like a 6 point something on IMDb. And I know James liked the film, other people do like the film. And as a film, it's okay. Yeah, it's not a film I found hilarious. It's not my favorite SNL movie. Wayne's World would be up there. But I mean, I'd probably say I liked it more than... I definitely liked it more than It's Pat. Definitely. I'd probably say I liked it more than what was that, Superstar and The Ladies Man and... Coneheads I thought was there. But, yeah, it stars Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. You also have Molly Shannon in the film. You have Michael Clark Duncan has a bit part in it as a bouncer. Richard Grieco from 21 Jump Street and the film If Looks Could Kill, he's in it playing himself. Lachlan Monroe, who I liked, he was in the first Scary Movie. He was in Freddy vs. Jason as the cop. He's in the film as one of Will and Chris's buddies. Chaz Palminteri's in the film as the owner of this club. Colin Quinn, who was on SNL and he's done other stuff, he's there as kind of the bodyguard agent of Chaz Palminteri's character. Dan Hedaya, who I've seen, he was in the first Addams Family film, he was in the Stallone film Daylight. Good character actor, he was in Alien Resurrection, he was the guy, the general, whatever his moniker was, that the alien bites his head and he pits and sees a little piece of his brain. That's Dan Hedaya. He plays the dad. I think Lonnie Anderson, who used to be married to Burt Reynolds back in the day, she plays the mom. So definitely some recognizable people. And the plot is pretty simple. Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan play Steve and Doug. They like to go to nightclubs. Yeah, that song, What is Love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. And they do like the skit where, me, you, huh? Me, huh? Yeah, me, you talking to me? You talking to him? Me, you, yeah, or they find girls and they kind of rub against them. Although nowadays I wonder if that would be appropriate, because I'm sure people would say that was sexual assault. Nowadays they would. And the film, it's very silly, it's very goofy. I mean, they're nodding their head in the car, and Chris Kattan breaks the window. He's like, I broke the window again. And pretty much, they like to go out, they like to get their hair, their clothes ready. They're not popular when they go in the clubs. Women don't want them. They try to get into this big club, the Roxbury. They always get kicked out. Michael Clark Duncan doesn't let them in. And like I said, it's very goofy and silly. I mean, there's a moment where Will Ferrell sticks a Twizzler up Chris Kattan's nose and then starts chewing on it, and Chris is like, did you just have that in my nose? And Will Ferrell's like, and keeps doing it. They work at their dad's flower shop, and the dad's always giving them a hard time because they're not... Will Ferrell's a bit more dumber, and Chris Kattan is a bit more rebellious. At one point, they're driving around, and Richard Grieco accidentally hits their car. At this point, their van. And Richard Dreyfuss like, oh, I don't want to get sued. Oh, you guys want to go to Roxbury? Okay, I'll bring you in. They finally get into the club. And then that's where they meet Chaz Palminteri, and they meet these two ladies, and it seems like everything's fine. They're able to even have sex. But then things fall apart. Molly Shannon and Will Ferrell, kind of their families want them to get married, and Molly Shannon's gung-ho about, but Will Ferrell's not. They try to see Chaz Palminteri because he mentioned, hey, I have a business proposition for you guys, but Colin Quinn, who doesn't like them, screws them over, lies about it, and won't tell Chaz Palminteri about it. So then the two ladies dumped them because they thought that Will and Chris were rich, but they weren't. So the two argue, they separate. Looks like Will Ferrell's going to marry Molly Shannon until Chris stops them and says, hey, let's try to get this fixed up. Which leads to the finale of the film. The film itself, it's a pretty short film. It's only an hour and 14 minutes if you take out the end credits. So it doesn't overstay its welcome. I do think Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan, they actually worked well together. You tell they have a history with each other. And they play off each other fairly well. Will Ferrell, this is the early years of Will, so this is before the days of Elf and other films where he did like these very big, grandiose, big reactions. And as dumb as this sounds, it's like he played this a bit more subtle compared to some of those roles. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was him not being the star of the film, just being in sync with Chris Kattan, and I thought they played off each other decently well. Chris Kattan, he was fine. There were some kind of funny moments, like he's talking to the credit card lady, and he's like, oh, you like when I swipe it? Yeah, you really like when I swipe it, don't you? Or the both of them, their dad tells them off, and they keep going, psh, 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 and they're both doing psh, in different ways. I will admit, as stupid as I was, it did get a chuckle out of me. Chaz Palminteri, it's fun to see him in there. There's a running joke that I think went on a bit too long because they referenced it like 4 or 5 times. I think twice would have been fine. Did you grab my ass? It's okay if you did, but you barked it up the wrong tree. But again, they do that like 4 or 5 times. I don't think you needed that many times, a running joke, but once or twice it was kind of funny. It does have some decent energy to it with the music when they're dancing in the club, and you know, the two women who our two leads think are into them, they're kind of in sync with each other, and they're each grabbing each other's ass and doing these kind of movements with the dance, and like you almost feel sorry for these guys because like they do seem to mean well, it's just they're too stupid to realize it. I wouldn't say they're as likable to me as like Wayne and Garth in Wayne's World, or let's say Chris Farley, David Spade, and Tommy Boy. Which, I mean, they weren't I just mentioned because they were actors on SNL as well. Like, those are way above this film, but again, there are moments where they talk and like Chris Kattan going, "Am I reading my disc meter correctly? Because it sounds like we're being blown off." Or when they're arguing, they keep doing this fake punch. But of course, they'll never connect, but they do. So, there are parts of that were kind of funny. Again, there's not much to the story there. I mean, it's only an hour and 14 minutes. Again, if you take out the end credits. Not all the jokes work. Like the Twizzler joke, you know, it's like, whatever. Of course, I mean, you know where it's going when they fight. You know they're going to get back together again. Oh, well, Will has to marry this lady. You know he's not going to marry her. So, again, you kind of know where it's going. It doesn't really have any big set pieces in terms of. I mean, I guess you're not really looking for action and chases or any of that in a comedy, but some of them do. Even like Tommy Boy when they have to try to get to Dan Aykroyd, or like the unique ending of Wayne's World where you have all the alternate endings. This is kind of just, oh, okay, I stopped the wedding. We drive around, we find a club. Hey, that seems like my idea. They get in, they meet Chaz. And you're kind of like, okay, well, you think there's going to be some big confrontation with Colin Quinn, but I think you hear just, I think someone says he's somewhere else, and you don't really know why he's there. I mean, is Colin Quinn going to come back? Did Chaz find out and fire him or punish him? Will Colin Quinn eventually come back and something else will happen? So then you think there's going to be some confrontation, like Colin Quinn, to see him get his comeuppance, to see him get his just desserts? Or the two women who trash them? Like maybe, wow, you're successful. Nah, we don't want anything to do with you. You think there'd be kind of a... Or maybe Michael Clark Duncan starts working for that club. Just something happened with Roxbury. And so now, even he gets surprised you are on the list. Okay, come on in. I guess, like, because Michael Clark Duncan appears like twice. The first time he doesn't let him in. The second time they try to bribe him. How about my friend George Washington and his buddy George Washington? Can we get in now? So there's a couple threads I thought was going to be dot the I's, cross the T's by the end of the film, but they weren't. Same with like Dan Hedaya, like he's giving them a hard time. You think, okay, there's going to be a moment between Chris and Will where the dad, they're talking to each other and they come to an understanding, but really it's just Richard Grieco just explaining to Dan Hedaya everything. And it's like, oh, okay. So, like, as far as our two leads know, the dad still hates their ass or something. So I thought there'd be a bit more to that. Like some kind of finality between those characters. And then spoiler, well I said spoiler, but at the end, at the club, the credit card lady, and then this police officer played by I think Jennifer Coolidge, which she's been in quite a few stuff. They pop up and they're gonna hook up with Will and Chris and everything's gonna be fine. I do like the song "What Is Love." It's one of those songs that it got to a point where I heard it all the time, got sick of it. But now that it's been, because it's been forever since I saw one of those Stephen Dodd skits. That, oh yeah, I remember that song. Okay, I remember why it was popular at one point. Yeah, I like it. It's catchy. It's fun. I also like the usage of "Secret Garden" with Bruce Springsteen, which they do a Jerry Maguire joke. You have me a hello when the two brothers apologize. Like I said, it's not the most hilarious movie to me. It's not the movie that I would rewatch over and over again. Unlike, again, other SNL guys in their movies. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore. Tommy Boy, Black Sheep. Wayne's World, and other stuff. But I'd probably say I like this a bit more than when I saw it the first time. Anyways, it's silly, it's goofy, it's short. The two leads, like I said, you tell they had good chemistry. And it's harmless. I'm thankful they don't have a lot of like fart jokes, piss jokes. Like they don't really litter with a lot of that kind of stuff. I think Will Ferrell is less Will in this movie compared to what he would do. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's interesting seeing the Will Ferrell in this era compared to what he would become, he was less obnoxious to me in this movie. He was just kind of, a easygoing dumb oaf, while others he just seemed louder, more obnoxious. I don't know how they explain it. And Chris Kattan, I mean, had the energy to make those scenes work. I mean, I'm not saying he needed his own film like Corky Romano, for those who remember that, but he worked with World. I mean, like I said, it was nice to see Molly Shannon. I thought she did a good job as the woman who's just very horny for Will Ferrell's character and suggestive, and then as it get closer, you see that she's a bit more dominating. It's funny. There's a scene, like this is like PG-13 or so. There's a scene in a pool where it's the camera's like going from here, panning this way. If you look at one of the women, her top is off and you see her titties. But I think with the way it's lit, nobody noticed that, so the ratings were never affected, and no one like, hey, why you have that titty there? Like, I guess like as they're shooting the film, like again the way it was lit, like I could see them, but I guess for them, because it was panning and you like looking everywhere else. Of course, for me, I'm like titties. So you do see titties in this. I guess I wonder, like on that day, did the lady just go, "Oh, screw it, I'm just gonna take this top off. Let's see if they notice," or something? I don't know. I think this film did okay at the box office compared to the low budget. But the thing that when I think about this film, I always think of apparently when Chris Kattan wrote his book, he talked about how Amy Heckerling was going to direct this film. And she had some successful films at that point. So it would have been a big deal to get her as part of the project. But this is what Chris said. Apparently, she wanted to have sex with him. He was uncomfortable with it. Lorne Michaels calls and says, listen, you don't have to fuck her, but it would help. And that Chris was pressured into having sex with her. But then she didn't do the film anyway. She was a producer. And then because he had sex with Amy Heckerling, that somehow broke up the friendship between him and Will Ferrell. Because apparently Will Ferrell never wanted to speak to Chris Kattan again. Apparently since then, maybe for like a reunion or something, like they never talked. Because you see on YouTube, oh, well, Chris wants to do a sequel to Night of the Roxbury. Notice he's the only one saying that, because you're not going to hear Will Ferrell say that. Now, granted, again, I don't know Chris Kattan, I don't know Will Ferrell. Maybe this all happened and Will Ferrell's a dick, and Amy Heckerling is a pushy bitch. On the flip side, maybe Chris Kattan, he saw how successful Will Ferrell was, and maybe his jealousy of, Will Ferrell. I mean, Will, got starring roles and, Elf and the other guys and Step Brothers and Anchorman and like all these movies. A lot of them became big hits. And Chris Kattan did Corky Romano. And I don't know what the hell he's done for the past 10 years, to be honest. So, again, do I believe Chris? Do I believe Will? Is it a mesh of both? I don't know. But that's what I always think of when I think of this film. What say you watching? What say you? But the film itself I thought was okay. I didn't mind it. It was an easy watch. It was harmless. It was fun for what it needed to be. So, didn't mind it. So that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.